Happy Tuesday evening to everybody out there. This is Pucks from the Pine Tree Pod. My name is Benjamin Kennedy. Thank you once again for joining us this evening. Tonight, we are excited to talk about the New York Islanders. We're going to dive into their 24-25 preview, see what they have in store for us this coming season. So, let's get after it, guys. Starting with head coach, we all know they made the change about halfway through the season, bringing over Patrick Waugh, a former coach of the Colorado Avalanche from a few years back. Of course, Hall of Fame goaltender in his own right. Loved watching him play. He was just so smooth on the ice. He was one heck of a player. But as a coach, he's had a little ways to go. Overall, he's coached in 283 games with a 150, 104, and 29 record. That's good for a 581 winning percentage. Playoffs, only the 12 games, 4-8. So not a lot of experience there. Also, not a whole lot of winning. But when you go back to his days in Colorado, we know that was a less than happy exit when he left. Was a little awkward, a little uncomfortable. But I do give him credit, for being a Hall of Fame type of guy like he is. He went all the way back to the Q, where he'd coached before, went back to the Quebec Remparts, and coached a few years. Really was able to work on his craft, work on his game, kind of from behind the bench, and it does seem like he has a little bit better or different attitude and different style than he did back in the Colorado days. So good on him. I mean, that's it's a little bit humbling to have to do that, and he's done it. Now he's back. So, of course, we all know he was a midseason replacement when Lane Lambert was fired last season. So now he's got a full offseason, a full preseason to really get his team. Um, kind of where he wants it to be, from the beginning. So it'll be curious to see how that goes. As far as salary cap, yeah, they have no money. They are out. According to Puckpedia, they are at $0. They do have one more active roster spot to fill on their roster, but yeah, no dollar dues, no dollar bucks. A little Bluey reference in there for all you parents out there. This is a house with a 4-year-old boy, so Bluey is a little bit of a religion here. I do watch it a lot. Very cute cartoon. For those of you without parents or without children, you have probably no clue what I'm talking about, but it is a fun little cartoon. And got little Bluey up here on the board, so little treat there for my kiddo. Anyway, so yeah, no real money left for them to spend on July 1st. So they were very inactive here so far in the off season. Kind of the team, what they have is what they have, and not a whole lot of flexibility. They did have the 20th overall draft pick here in this year's draft, where they select forward Cole Iserman, 17-year-old prospect, the local kid from Newburyport, Massachusetts. So be curious to see how he develops his career. I'm sure all of us New England folks will be cheering him on. When we go back to last season, take a look at their record, take a look at their results. They were 39, 27, and 16. Now, that 16 number we'll talk about a little bit later. 94 points total, good for third in the Metro. So they are a playoff team last year, to the surprise, I think, of some. Where really weren't sure where they were going to fit in last season. They do go to the playoffs, lose to Carolina in the 5 games. Carolina was a fairly heavy favorite, so really no surprise there that the Hurricanes took them down fairly quickly. So, um, yeah, again, we'll talk about New Jersey here in a couple of weeks, but Jersey really kind of opened that door for teams like the Islanders and teams like Washington to get in. Um, Looking at their team stats last season, goals for they were at 2.99 and a goals against 3.15. So minus 13 on that. So not great. Um, I think they were 22nd in the league in goals for and 18th for goals against. Power play, they were 19th in the league at a 20.4, and the PK was less than stellar. Let's just say that they were 32nd in the league at a 71.5%. So if you're an opponent and you couldn't score a power play goal against them, you were really having a bad night. You're really having a bad night. Faceoff circle, they were 51.3%, good for 12th. Block shots, they were actually number one in block shots with 1,673 block shots, and then hits, they were sixth with 2,062. So when you look at that block shots number one, I kind of wonder. And again, I didn't watch a ton of Islander games last year, but you do kind of wonder if that tells you they were simply in that defensive position, defensive mode too much, maybe not possessing the puck enough, so it kind of put them in those tough spots to have to defend more, have to block shots more. I don't know if that's the case. Any Islander fans, please, let me know what you saw last year. If that number, what that number maybe means to you. Um, but really, both them and Washington were both minus in the goals for and goals against. So they both made the playoffs. It's not really something you see all the time. It is a little bit stunning. Um, and as we can see in these number of special teams, really, really struggled last season for them. 32nd in the league in the PK is just unacceptable. And again, a number you don't typically see with a playoff team. So just this is just one of those things where the results and the numbers, don't always, really line up fully. Looking at their core skaters, Matthew Barzell, forward, had played 80 games last season with a 23, 57, and 80 line. So that's 23 goals, 57 assists for 80 points. Defenseman Noah Dobson played 79 games for them last season, 10 goals, 60 assists for 70 points. Brock Nelson, 82 games, played the whole season, 34 goals with 35 assists and 69 points. And then, of course, Bo Horvat played 81 games, had 33 points, 35 assists for 68 points. So, decent, some decent performances there. I think Horvat's kind of stood out to me after he had, made the move from Vancouver. Seemed to fit in fairly nicely there. That trade seems like it's worked out well for New York. We also have Kyle Palmieri, who's not on the board, but he had a really nice year for himself. 30 goals, 24 assists for 54 points. And then Captain Anders Lee, 20 goals, 17 assists for 37 points. So they have some decent production, I think, with their some of their top players. Gonna get into the goaltending, and this is gonna be really curious to see how the goaltending looks next season, especially with your coach Patrick Waugh and who he is. Is this something he can fix here for the Islanders? Because Sorokin, for as good as he is, he had just a rough time of it last season. Played the 56 games, did have a winning record, 25, 19, and 12, but a 3.01 goals against. Not something you typically see out of a guy of his caliber, and a 909 save percentage. For Alamov, as a backup, did steal some starts from him, especially later in the season. Did play the 28 games with a 14-8-4 record, 2.6 goals against, and a 918 save percentage. So numbers a little bit better, obviously fewer games played, but really, kind of took some starts away from Sorokin, and I think definitely helped them get that third place position. So that will be a really curious story as we go into next season. What does this goaltending tandem look like, and can Sorokin get his game back? As for key additions, there, like I said, not a lot to talk about here. They did pick up Anthony Duclair. Um, Played 73 games last season between San Jose and Tampa. Of course, he was traded to Tampa for the playoff run. Had 24 goals, 18 assists, 42 points. So nice addition. I think he'll be a good middle line guy. Can kind of play a little bit up and down your lineup. Should fit in, I would say, pretty seamlessly there. Always been, I think, a little bit underrated, as a player. But I think he'll be for not doing a lot in the off season. I thought he was a pretty decent get for the Islanders. They do lose Sebastian Aho, defenseman, off to Pittsburgh. Sebastian played 58 games last season, had 2 goals, 7 assists for 9 points. So my prediction for this season, when you, I guess I'll start with this. Yeah, I don't want to necessarily say that they were lucky to make the playoffs last season. But I do feel that door was left open a bit for them, from teams like New Jersey, and I guess I'll throw Pittsburgh into that conversation too, where they didn't really, play well enough to get there. Typically, when you're a minus in the goals for goals against category, and when you're 32nd in the league in the PK, you're probably not a playoff team. Clearly, though, that wasn't the case last season. And boy, those overtime losses, 16 overtime losses. Those lost points can really add up. And I do know another team in the greater Boston area, maybe that struggled a bit with this last season too. So, not great, not great. But when I look at this roster and the lack of changes and movements, I'm just kind of left feeling a little just meh. Like, don't really know what to make of them. And I'm not meaning to say that and be disrespectful to the players that they have. They have talented players, no question. I just hope to see more changes to this team that really wasn't all that close to the cup last season. Looking at the upgrades you have in New Jersey and in Washington, it just makes me a bit worried about their playoff chances in the Metro Division this season. Let's talk about Matthew Barzell for a second. His 23 goals were the highest in his career, and his 80 points were the highest since his rookie season, all the way back in 17-18, where he had 85 points. For a number of years, the Islanders have played a more conservative style, more defensively driven, very much a Barry Trotz system and style. Um, and that was successful to a point. They did make some nice playoff runs under Trotz, but has that kind of stunted Barzell's offensive potential? It feels like there's more offense to his game, and I think this team really needs to see that out of him to progress. Closer to that long playoff run or Stanley Cup run that they haven't had in a bit. Um, so be again, I think he'll be a player really to watch and see or if he can continue to elevate his game because again, I just think there's more there. Defensively, I think they're okay with their top 4 or 5 guys. Dobson has come into his own, and then when you have the likes of Pelech and Pulak and the young Romanov, yeah, they should be fairly steady. You do wonder, though, had money been available, would they have targeted one of those bigger defensemen, UFAs that were on the market this year? They may have been in the market for that. Because I'm not sure how deep their defensive unit really is overall. Um, you know, can they survive many lost games due to injury throughout the season? Again, if there's any Islander fans out there listening, let me know your thoughts on that. Are there any NHL, AHL level defensemen that are out there that you guys are excited about, or anybody that could contribute to this team this coming season? I'm, truth be told, not 100% sure on that, and that might be needed because you just don't have the money to go out and make other moves or bring in other players. Listen, special teams needs to be improved drastically. It just does. You can sort of live with 19th on the power play, but dead last in the PK is just simply unacceptable. It's just unacceptable. We'll be curious to see what Patrick Waugh does about this now that he has his full preseason with his club. Does he change some pairings and units around? This should definitely be a focal point for this team this season. So along with this, there's no question Sorokin needs a bounce back year. He's too good of a goaltender to put up those sorts of numbers again. I would suspect he bounces back a bit this season, and Varlamov really gives him a great security blanket, as he proved last season to be quite effective, and certainly took some starts away from Sorokin in that second half of the season. Now, I put this team in that same kind of murky middle in the East. I have my Thangon Forest sticker up here today from Lord of the Rings. They're in the woods a little bit. They're in the forest. Maybe they find their way out, or maybe they get eaten by goblins. I'm not really sure. I worry that too many other teams improved around them, and they just kind of sort of stayed the same, right? If they want to be playing in May and June, they need better special teams play, no question. They need more consistent goaltending, no question, and maybe a career year out of somebody like a Matt Barzell. I don't know where I'll have them when it comes to prediction time, but I do think they're at risk of missing the playoffs this season. So be fun to watch. Be curious to see what they can do. I'd love to hear from some of you fans out there. I've been told that New York fans are pretty vocal. I've heard that they are pretty opinionated. So leave those comments down below, guys. Would love to hear from you. Thanks again for listening. If you guys are liking what you're hearing, please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. And until next time, be kind, show love, and God bless.